I'm gonna cook up a batch of super crispy wings, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a test while I do it. So I have some wings just split up into 2 different bowls. Just gonna get these seasoned up, a little salt on this first batch, and then a little bit of just a seasoning blend without salt I made, just some garlic powder and pepper. You can add any spice blend you really want. I'm keeping it simple because I'm really going for the crispy factor on this. So that's what we're focusing on. A little bit of that. Get that tossed up, evenly coated. And this just needs a little bit of oil to help the crispiness along as well in the oven. Get that all well coated. Both batches, I made sure that I patted them dry. They're super, super dry, and I just let them hang out in the refrigerator until I was ready. Moisture, of course, is the enemy of crispiness, so I made sure that these were really, really dry. And then going with my seasoning blend, get that mixed up. So the secret weapon here is baking powder. I just need a little bit, just make sure we evenly coat all those wings. You won't taste it, but it'll help draw out moisture from the skin. That'll evaporate as it cooks, make everything super crunchy. Now, this isn't just for wings. You can do this with so many things. I've done this with my turkey to get a really crispy skin on my Thanksgiving turkey. When it comes to chicken and a crispy skin in the oven, just use this baking powder technique. A little bit does go a long way. You don't need much. Make sure that's well coated in the oil. If you have a little time and patience, here's what I suggest. Go ahead and salt it. Make sure that salt is evenly coated, and then put some baking powder on there. Let it hang out in the fridge on a sheet tray overnight. The next day you might notice there's a little moisture on there. Go ahead and pat the chicken dry again, and then go ahead and season it, oil, and then you can cook it. Overnight, what it's gonna do is even draw out even more moisture from that skin, and that salt's gonna infuse into the meat, so you're gonna get really flavorful meat and the perfect consistency for skin. So that's what I recommend if you're doing a whole chicken or a turkey with this method. Go ahead and take the time, plan ahead, get that in your refrigerator overnight. So usually you wanna give these plenty of room. I'm trying to do 2 test batches on 1 tray. So maybe I'll reserve a few of these just so we're not overcrowded. And there's plenty of circulation and heat can get all over this chicken. I'll do another batch with these. I'm gonna get this other batch on, the other side. I like the fattier side up first. That'll render down. That's the part you want to get the most exposure to the heat to get it really crispy. There's a couple different cooking methods if you're gonna use the oven or even an air fryer, is to cook at a lower temperature until it's just about done in the middle, and then you'll crank up the temperature to really crisp up the skin. I'm trying to make things easy for me today, so I'm just gonna put it in a hot oven. Get that skin nice and crispy. They'll cook through nice and juicy. But once again, if you have the time, there's always a technique that may yield you better results. It just takes a little bit more time and effort. But if you want to get things done quickly, throw these in the air fryer, throw these in the oven, and they'll be done in no time. All right, make sure we get good separation of these 2 batches for scientific purposes. We have our non-baking powder batch, our baking powder batch, and I'm gonna throw these in the oven, and we'll see what happens. Halfway through cooking, we just need to give them a little flip. But I can already tell these are crisping up so nicely. We got some browning happening. The ones with the baking powder on there are definitely a little bit more evenly brown. And we are ready. Look at these sizzling beauties. So this is how our chicken wings turned out. I can immediately tell the side with the baking powder is a lot drier on the outside. It's less shiny and super crispy, while this side is still a little fatty. I mean, I'm not gonna turn down a chicken wing. These are still delicious, but you can tell that they are lacking a little bit of that browning and crispiness that you get with the baking powder. This method works especially if you can take the time to let the baking powder set a little bit, pat them dry, and then cook them. I'm gonna try one that does look crispy. These that were in the back of the oven browned up a little bit nicer. The one with baking powder you can tell is a lot drier and crispier, while this one I can see a little bit of moisture. It's nice and brown and it is crispy, but I can tell a texture difference just by looking at it. Now that these have cooled off a little bit, that's a stall for time. The chicken wings are super hot. My technique, I remove one of the bones in the flat and just eat the whole thing. I love chicken wings. Wait, Wing number 2, our crispy fellow. Now these are kind of hot. Fingers are on fire. I usually have the superpower where I can touch super hot stuff, but this is on another level. Look at all that steam trapped in there because the skin, the crispy coating trapped it in there. Snack on that one. Let this vent out. Look at that steam. Oh, this one's coming clean out, so all we're left with is just chicken and crispiness. Oh, I'm even bending it. You can tell it's crispy. All right, here we go. You can hear the difference. Crispity, crunchity, without the fryer. For me, this is like chicken bacon, you know? It's crispy, it's salty, it's savory. It's the best part, honestly. The baking powder method works so great in the air fryer, the oven, delicious. That's why I do the overnight dry brine, like salt it overnight. That actually helps retain the juice inside. So even if you do cook them a little longer, they'll still stay juicy. It's not even an extra step, the baking powder. Can barely be considered a step, but it can be considered a secret ingredient.